Alright, so you should have watched the Slope Dude video, and you should now know that example 2 here has a slope of 0. This is 0 fun. This is 0 fun. I'll give you a little acronym, so write this on your paper. H-O-Y, HOY. So H is for horizontal, because this line is horizontal. 0 is actually for, the O is actually for 0. Y is for y equals equation. And then down here, this one is a vertical line. Its slope is actually undefined. Slope Dude told you, he yelled that cuss word, math cuss word, as he went off the cliff. And this is, we're going to write VUX. So V is for vertical, U is for undefined slope, and X is for x equals equation. So when you see an equation of an undefined line, it's always going to start with x equals. Alright, go ahead and flip the page. Alright, and on this page, we are going to talk about using this formula. So far, we have just looked at graphs and have used slope triangles to count. And now we're going to reinforce, or learn about this formula, and we're going to reinforce it with these lines. So we already know from Slope Dude that this is a 0 slope, but I want you to try the math. So when you have 2 points, so we have -1, 5, and we have 6, 5. So using this formula, it's the change in y, that's your rise, and the change in x, that's your run. So y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by or over x sub 2 minus x sub 1 is the formula we can use when given points. You won't always have a graph. We have a graph here. We know this is 0. I want to show you that this formula works. So we're going to label this. So since this is the first point I wrote down, we're going to label it x sub 1, and this will be the y, because it's always x comma y. This is going to be x sub 2, and this is going to be y sub 2. So the 2's are the ones are just, this is the first point, this is the second point. You could switch those. I wrote this one first. Write the formula. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. You can hear some of you growling saying, oh, do I have to write the formula? Write it a few times, like for this first day or so, and get it stuck in your head, because you're going to be using it a lot. So then just follow it. Y sub 2 right here is a 5. So put a 5. Equation says minus y sub 1. Y sub 1 is right here. It's a 5. So on top there we have 5 minus 5. In the denominator, x sub 2 is 6. Equation says minus x sub 1 is -1. Be careful with that. 5 minus 5 on top is 0. 6 minus -1. Minus and negative makes a plus is actually 7. Actually doesn't matter what is down here, because 0 divided by anything is just 0 in the end. And like I said, we already knew the slope of this line was 0 from the Slope Dude, looking at its graph. It's flat. However, now you can see why this formula will work when you're given 2 lines. Let's try it again. This vertical line, you should already know that the slope of this line is undefined. The Slope Dude just skied over and skied off that cliff. He was like, undefined. So let's call this the 4, 6. Let's call it the x1 and the y sub 1. And the 4, 2. Let's call it the x sub 2 and the y sub 2. Write the equation, please. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 equals. Use the formula. Y sub 2 right here is 2. The formula has a minus. Put a minus. Y sub 1 is 6. In the denominator, x sub 2 is 4 minus x sub 1 is 4. 2 minus 6 on top is -4. 4 minus 4 on the bottom is 0. You cannot divide by 0. So say we have a pile of apples. If I want to divide this pile of apples by 0, you you can't divide by 0 and get 0 piles. 0 piles doesn't make sense, so that is undefined. And I've got a little funny way that I can explain that, so if you ask us, we'll give you a different kind of funny way to remember that you cannot have a 0 on the bottom. So since you cannot have 0 on the bottom, that is undefined. You cannot divide by 0. Okay, down here, you're going to do these on your own. We're going to come back and do these later. Let's just get this first one set up for you. This is x1, y1, just because it's listed first, let's make it the ones. This is x sub 2 and y sub 2. Write your formula, please. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. The y is always going on top because that's your rise. Y is the vertical axis. X always goes on bottom because that's your run. That is your horizontal axis. Fill in the numbers, simplify when you get there. So you're going to come back and finish those later. For now, go ahead and turn to the next page. And on this page, we're going to learn one more way of finding the slope. So on this page, we've already found the slope from graphs. We've already found the slope from 2 points. Now we're going to find the slope for a table. So this is another little formula for us. Delta y, that's a Greek letter delta, over delta x. Delta y means write this on your paper, the change in y, and this is the change in x. So, to look at this table, first we're going to write that down. Delta y over delta x. If you look from here to here, here to here, and here to here, this is decreasing by 2, decreasing by 2, decreasing by 2. So our change in y is minus or negative 2. This, from here to there, and there, and there, is increasing by 3. The change in y goes on the top, so that's negative 2. The change in x, every time it's changing by 3, that's it. That's your slope. So it's just delta y over delta x. Okay, so on these, again, write down, you're going to do these on your own. This is m equals delta y over delta x. Okay, find your change in y, find your change in x. Write those as a ratio or a fraction. Do the same thing for that one. And then down here, just write what Slope Dude would say for each of these. If you need, you can go back, watch that video, we can review that. And then there's another video. So sometime we'll either do it together or you should watch the video that is called Rise Up, Run Out. It's another fun, catchy video that will help you remember all of this. And that's it for these notes. Now go back and do all of those on your own problems, and then we'll go over those.